this one I've got to use my arms a little bit to show some of the story, so I've got the camera sitting on a platform there so I can move my arms around to show some of the story. I know I look like crap. I only got out of the hospital a little while earlier. I have not been existing in this body for a whole lot of time over the past 48 hours, so I don't care how I look. It's greasy. I've been in bed. I haven't been able to shower yet. I'm going to after I take care of these. I've got multiple people asking me how I'm doing, and I don't want them to worry. So I'm trying to finish these stories as quickly as I can, but I'm trying to message and write to people in between so no one will worry about me. But going back to talking about that's all my stuff that I have with me. I've got juices and fruits and stuff that I've been eating. Anyway, I was in the ER, whatever it was, as opposed to the room that I ended up in. I just kept saying, when I was down there, I don't know where there was, but they said, yeah, that's... So, if I say down there, I mean over there, I don't mean in hell. During my whole process, I can't say that, excuse me, as scary as a lot of it was, I can't say that any of it was in hell. And that's part of the thing that I'll get there. But I was in the room, I was telling the lady about my birthday with the 3 and the 5, but I remember my mom finally came in, and the whole time these people were trying to get information from me. There were like 3 or 4 nurses that kept coming in and out, and there was one lady doctor, and I was phasing in and out of here, and bear with me, please. I was fading in and out, and I kept going back and seeing. I'll upload a video in a second, the one after I woke back up. I kept seeing this it was this vast nothingness. It was just there was this ground, but it was completely flat. But sometimes it had a texture almost of like rocks. It didn't feel that way, but it looked like it had a texture. It was smooth but textured looking. And at first I was there, and when I got to that point, there's a lot more to this. You have to watch the other video to understand this. This will be tying back into a later story. This is foreshadowing, I guess you would call it. But I got to that point where I was in this vast openness, and I'll leave the other video to talk about it, but I kept coming back into my body, and I was trying to tell these people about this, and at this point my heart rate was very, very low. It was at one point 79 over something. I don't remember exactly what. I've been having trouble expressing and I can't think of the word I'm trying to use. I've been having a hard time with numbers since last night. I can count like this, I can count, I can add, it just, some of it doesn't make sense to me. And I've never known much about blood pressure to begin with. I just know that mine was very, very low last night. The low point was 79 over something. I was almost gone. But they were getting this information from me, and I know how important it is, so they would be able to treat me and everything. But I was leaving here, and I was coming back, and I was trying to tell them these magnificent things, the ultimate truths of so many of these things we've been looking for. And they didn't say it. Sorry, it's giving me the low battery signal. They didn't say it, but the gist of it was they were trying to get me to shut up so they could get the answers about the questions, which I understand are important to the well-being of the physical self. But at that point, what I was trying to relay to them was so much more important, and they kept interrupting me every time I was trying to say something. It would have been fine if one of them was getting the information from my mom or something, and maybe somebody was listening to me. But every time I started a sentence, I would get to that point like I was doing just then, and they would cut me off. And it was one of the most frustrating things I'd ever experienced. And finally, I remember I was so desperate and frustrated, and excuse me, I'm going to have feeling about it again. I remember one of my arms was going like this or something like this. When I was in the room downstairs, wherever it was, I kept begging them. My arms kept doing this, like not quite that much, and it wouldn't be consistent. But I would be able to talk and do this, but I wasn't doing any of this. And I kept pleading with them to try and to have somebody hold down my arm or restrain my arms, because I was not in control of them. And I don't know if anyone has ever gone through that, but I was trying so hard to get them to hold still, and I couldn't stop moving my arms. It was terrifying. But eventually I gained enough control over this arm. They weren't doing anything, so there were bars on the side of the bed. There was a horizontal bar, and every so often there was a vertical bar. Eventually I found a way to kind of wrap my hand around one of the bars on the left side so I could hold it, so my shoulder was still kind of doing that. The arm was still wanting to move around. And my mom was on my right side, and I was looking at her, and I remember I was very emotional like this. If not, I was crying at the time. I go, Mom, why won't they listen to me? This is so much more important than what they're saying. And I don't know if I said that I was going to be gone, but I knew that I felt that I had very little time left, and I almost did. I very well could have, and any of this information could have been lost to the ages forever. And again, I sound crazy. Go ahead, have at it. Call me Adam the Loon, any of that stuff you want to. I don't care about your opinion anymore. I care about you as a friend, and I love you that way, and I want there to be good for you and good to you. But if you have any negativity towards me, I don't care about it. It's yours to keep. I won't hold on to it. There's no sense in it. It does no good in my growth, my health, my life. There's no use for negativity in me anymore, and I'm trying so hard to wipe out any of it. And I think that when I died, though my physical life was still, my heart was beating, 79 beats a minute, I guess is what it was. It was beating very, very slow. I have high blood pressure. It usually beats pretty quickly. But it was beating so slow. There's the theory of the holographic universe. And when I was in the vast emptiness, I saw creation. I saw it all come to exist, and it was all happiness. It was at the beginning, when there was the vast nothingness. I'll go ahead and talk about this a little bit. It's important. At first I was tinkering around with it. I couldn't comprehend where I was because I wasn't anywhere. I guess it was my consciousness. But I started fooling around with it with my mind. I had no body at this point. There was just the vast emptiness, and I could feel everyone. And we were all having these conversations together without any words. It was conversations with feeling, with thought. None of this, no flapping of the mouth was needed, no moving of the hands, none of this existed. It was thought and feeling and love and goodness and light. And if that was not... I'm not a Christian. I follow some Christian beliefs. I follow some Buddhist beliefs. I follow beliefs from many different sects of different religions. I refuse to put a label on what I believe, because when you label something, it has rules to follow. By not having a label to what I believe, it can continually grow and advance and change based off of the experiences I have and what I know and what I can feel. And I think that's how we need to do it. What's the point in fighting over it? Oh, Luke said this, John said this, Allah said this. They were all great. And Allah, I mean absolutely no disrespect. No disrespect whatsoever. bear with me as I know I keep saying bear with me, but I'm trying to remember where I was. Okay, I was exploring the vastness, and when the vastness all hit, all of us laughed. It was it was like the vastness hit and there was a thud, and like a little bit of dust came up, I don't know from where, and that was the last of the dust. Disappeared, I guess it settled or whatever, and then there was just the nothingness, and the conversations were happening, and there was the goodness and the happiness, and all. When it hit and did that thud and the dust came up, it was a feeling. We couldn't look at each other, but it felt like everyone turned and looked at each other simultaneously, and then we all understood, and we laughed, because there's no point. There's no point in all the anger and the upset. The only thing that is important is to be good to each other and to love, and I promise you this is true. I promise you. Please listen to me. This is the best I have ever known. But after we understood that and we had a good laugh about it, I started to think in a way, and I began to be able to change the great vast plain into what I wanted it to be. And you know, everyone, it's fairly common knowledge that my favorite color is purple, and the various different shades of it, and the ground that was the vast field, it was, how would you explain it? It was rotating within colors, but they were blending together in a way that you could not tell one color from the next. But it was shades of blues and purples, and it was so beautiful, and it was just peace and happiness and love. And it was either, like I was saying, I'm not religious. I don't particularly believe in a heaven, but if there is one, that was either it, or that is what enlightenment is. Because in that, when I reached that point where there was the great vast plain, I did not want anything. I didn't need. All there was a feeling of overwhelming happiness. I mean, look what it's doing to me now, just thinking about it. These are tears of happiness. Coming from a man who not 6 months ago was ready to end it. I'm sorry. I'm not weak. I'm so much stronger than so many people who refuse to let their emotions out. Emotions are not a bad thing at all. Anyway, say what you want about me. I could control this field, and eventually it became a great screen where I could see all of my memories, all of the good that I had. I was raised a lot by my granny and Papaw Van Horn when I was little. They live in the house that I'm in now. This is where they used to live. I used to live up the road, and I was essentially raised by them. I was down here all the time, and I'm not saying anything against my mom and dad. I love them absolutely, and my brother. I can't explain the love I have for everyone right now, but I'm trying to stay on topic. I love everyone. But in that field, I got to relive all of the good moments of my life, and I got to see it all. But eventually, after a while, I guess I got bored of going through the moments, through the memories, because it all felt good, but just not even before thinking about any of that, the overwhelming goodness that existed in that plane, it was enough. So I started thinking more. And I think this was my path back into my body, into existence, into my waking mind. If you want to call that other not waking. But I started from the plane. It began to rise up almost like a cavern. Like if you look at a sponge under a microscope and you see those formations that are in it. It's how it looks almost, how it's like organic, but it can look like it's part of a cavern at the same time, and it had the same kind of texture that the ground did at times. But there were these columns. I remember there were columns, and around on the columns there were these picture frames, but the picture frames were moving. Like it was, you know, those video picture frames that people can upload their videos to, and it will play the little bit, and it will go to the next video, and it will show that. There were several of these, but they weren't those. They weren't those things. They were. It was a one-dimensional. I could interact with it somehow with my non-physical body. I was moving them somehow, and I looked at a couple of them. And while they were like those kinds of screens, they had, like you have with windows, they have the little minus sign to shrink down the window. They had the X sign so you close the window, and the square symbol so you can make it take up the full page. I shrank some of. I went through, and I think that it was how I learned how to represent my memories. And around on each of these columns were all of these thought squares. If you want to call them squares, they were one-dimensional. And I was interacting with them. And one of the last things I remember, now I can see it more clearly before going back into my body, the clusters became smaller and smaller. Normally the windows were, if they were represented in real life, they would be about this big, and then they just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller till eventually they were no bigger than, say, the size of my pinky, the pinky nail. And they were represented just by the shrink sign and the X to close them. So I think these were my memories that I can't recall so much. I think one day I might be able to access them again, but in that form that they were in there, sorry, I'm getting messages as I'm recording this. I'm trying not to be rude to you people, but I've got to get this recorded. Just give me time, please. But there were smaller and smaller clusters of these, and I remember closing some of them, so I hope I didn't erase memories that I won't have anymore. But after that, I remember telling Mom, and I clung to her jacket, and I had my arm over in the thing because I was pleading with them to restrain my arm because I could not stop moving it. So I was doing this, and I grabbed hold of my mom's coat, and I said, I need you to listen to this. And I explained, I don't know how long I took to explain it. It had to have been, in this realm, it had to have been 30 minutes, at least. And several times I was explaining it to her and some of the doctors, or nurses and doctors, and of course they thought I was crazy. I remember right after I got done doing the big explanation of how everything was to my mom, the doctor kind of pulled her over to the side and asked me if I have any mental problems. I know that's a fairly standard question in the field to make sure that people are okay, but talk about timing. I wasn't mad. I was hurt. I don't know how else to represent the feeling. I don't know what word to give it. It wasn't a good feeling. I was disappointed. It hurt my heart in a way that I can't, I don't care what she thinks, but I know that if I release this information and talk about these things, people are going to call me crazy. Whatever. But the realization that I came from a lot of this, I know I'm skipping around all over the place, the great vastness, the great empty field. We have recently begun to understand more and more of what's around us, and there is the theory that we live in a holographic universe. I can't remember how I explained it, but that's not there, I'm not here. These are frequencies, these are energies that have been slowed into these perceptions without sight, smell, taste, hearing, the rest of the senses. I can't think of them right now. I'm focusing on more important things than giving lists. How can you experience this realm, this three-dimensional world that we live in? How can you describe it to me without using any of the sensory descriptors? There is something out there more powerful than us. I remember one of the things when I was clutching my mom's jacket, and I thought I was gone. I thought I was going to be gone, and I was trying to pass on the last bit of wisdom. I've not been much of a believer in anything. I found spirituality recently. I've flirted off and on with different religions. I've used several of them to find a better understanding, a way for me to comprehend life and the way things work through religion, spirituality, science, consciousness. And I remember one of the last things I said in that room downstairs. I grabbed my mom's jacket and I was looking up at her, and I said, "Mom," I said, "believe me if you want to or not. Give me a lie detector test and I will pass it every time, telling the same story." I held her and I said, "Mom, I don't know what I saw. I don't know how to believe it or what. I saw God, and He wants us to have good, and He just wants us to have happiness, and that's all there is to it." And every time as I was describing all the things that I saw, I don't know if Mom was upset because I was going, or if it was just a beautiful sentiment of the things I was describing, because to me it was absolutely the most beautiful, excellent, wonderful thing ever. It had to have been some sort of afterlife. It had to have been. Had to. There's no other way around it. I'm not saying God's a man. I'm not saying God is Christian God. I'm not saying is He. I say He because God is a very, very big thing. Everything. And I won't try to explain it. If you don't believe, I respect that. I'm not here to try to convert you. I'm here to tell my story. If you're doing good and being good and trying to keep negativity and evil out of your heart and trying to help other people, there's something. There's a goodness. And part of the reason it was so beautiful to me and I was so happy, I feel like I always wonder if I'm a good person. I know a lot of you tell me I am, but I've done things. I've done bad things. I feel awful about them. But I've let go of them. And anyone who I have hurt in the past, I'm sorry. I really am. But I'm not excusing it. From the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry. And I hope you will forgive me. That is not who I am anymore. I love you all. Not just the people who see this. All people. All things on this planet. In a way that I can't ever put to words. I sought enlightenment. If this isn't seeing the light, if this isn't true happiness, it's beautiful. It's wonderful to feel this good. I don't want anyone to have to come close to death to experience it. seeing what it's done to some of my friends and seeing the reactions on my mom and dad's face, and seeing my brother, and just so many of you people who care about me, and all the people having seen me in that state, I'm ready to go. I could die at any time and it would not matter to me, especially after seeing that. I know that there is a place for me. So long, excuse me. So long as I stay good and try to do good things, to try to spread the word of, not religion, to tell everyone to be good to each other, to love, to care for our planet, to do the best you can. You don't have to be perfect by any means. I am far from perfect. Far from it. But I try to be good. I try. I want to be good. And that's what counts. The little effort. You can be the dumbest person in the world. You don't have to do anything. You should do things with your life, but you could do nothing with your life. But if you have more good in your heart and in your actions than you have the bad and the negative, there is something for you out there that is absolutely beyond earthly words. I promise you. Please listen to what I've said in these videos. I'm not doing these reviews for entertainment. I could be gone right now and I don't care. I want no legacy. It's pointless. I just want everyone to be good to each other and love each other, because that is the only thing that is important. I'm sorry I've cried so much in this. It's happiness. I can't. It really is. It's not. I'll post the video from when I just woke up. It was, I was listening to it a little while ago. It was around 2 a.m. The 5th, 6th. To me it was the 5th. I hadn't slept yet, so it was the 5th. I guess technically it was the 6th. So 2 a.m. this morning was when I woke up and recorded that initial video where I tried to talk about it as much as I could. But listen to what I say and understand, please, and help us to be the good that we can. I don't want popularity. Don't use my name. If you want to take this whole transcript, if you want to somehow block me out and edit my voice to where it sounds nothing like me, so long as the message to be good, to do good, and to love in a good way is out there. That's the important thing. See the good, be the good, free the good, and love everyone. I'll post the next video soon. I'm sorry this video was so long, but it was too important to stop. I love you guys.